when I am asked about the role of the churches in the present political crisis in Belarus or any political processes, I prefer to speak about the role of the Christians in this, because institutional churches often fail to respond with prophetic voices to challenges, to crises which are posed by current situations or moral issues. So I think that Christians are overtaking this role, and that's also a significant process because normally when in societies like Belarus, where church is understood in hierarchical way, it's very important that civil society inside the churches, Christians, lay activists, professionals, priests, they take over the voice and they speak, they witness, they do the real job on grassroots level. And for us it's also ecclesiological, new ecclesiological movement to understand, to recapture our subjectivity as lay people, as theologians, as parishes, and not to speak so much about the hierarchical dimension of the church. And so the present political crisis surely affects the churches themselves, and that's also the issue, that the churches are not given the agenda. The churches are not on the front line of changes, but churches are responsive. Churches respond. They are reactive and not proactive, and that's, I think, very diminishing the Christian message, because churches which are called to be on front line, to be on line, they often go backstage and they only react on something happening. And with democratic movement, churches were not the champions of democracy or human rights, but however, many Christians, they were motivated and take responsibility and also take consequences for their lives when they joined the democratic movement for fair elections, movement for human rights, justice and peace. And because in societies like Belarus, where with strongly restrictive government, with high level of repression, any word, any small picture in Facebook, any small sign of protest on support of certain values is already a big step forward. People can go to prison just for saying a few words, to being present in a certain place and certain time. And so people who are engaged in a human rights movement, in a movement for free elections, in a movement for democracy, they bear a lot of burden on themselves, and they are ready to sacrifice. And that's why they probably are not always visible as Christians, but I think it's very important to give them this visibility because the small signs should be promoted. And I want to mention with the present crisis in Ukraine that there were several priests who already received this response from government to their small steps. Steps like, for example, Orthodox priest Mikhail Marugo, he was with flowers at the railway station, and it became for him 13 days in prison. He was not protesting, he was not given any message, he had flowers, but already flowers in Belarus is a sign of protest. He spent 13 days in prison. Also, I want to draw attention to Catholic priest Vasily Baran from Lintupe and Catholic priest Andrzej Bulchak from Postavy. Both of them, they suffered because they had, for example, in their profile picture on Facebook, Ukrainian flag, or because they made a statement that Belarusian people do not support the invasion. So this small steps made them, one spent 10 days in prison, one had to leave the country because he was persecuted. And also Greek Catholic priest Vasily Yegorov, he only had on his car a sticker, "Ukraine forgive us." And he got also several days, father of multiple children, he got several days in prison. So it's in this shrinking space, public space, it's very difficult to witness for churches. Women, mothers, we Orthodox mothers came to pray together to Mother of God. And by entering the church, they were filmed going inside the church. And after 4 women were taken, after the service, they were taken to police station to being asked why they came to pray to Mother of God against the war. But these small steps already make a difference, and probably the message of the church is not strong, but the message of the Christians is strong, and sufferings and readiness to suffer, readiness to do some things which can really end up with prison term, which can end up with persecution, with repressions. It shows that also Christians, they have this moral motivation, inspired by gospel, do not have fear, and they try to witness and be these messengers of justice and peace in Belarusian society.